Alright, we're back at it again, yo. We're doing this shit. But this time in direct sunlight. So, for this collective reading, I think that I'm gonna stick with this theme. I want to say maybe for the foreseeable future, but even I don't fucking know. I'm doing this as I feel called to do it. And right now, for the collective readings, I feel that they're just going to be free flowing. So whatever comes out is going to come out. And I'm not, also disclaimer, so this is a good opportunity to get this out of the way. I'm not going to function the way that other tarot readers function, in the sense that I'm not doing readings on like, who's gossiping about you, who has a crush on you. Like, I'm not looking at any of that. If it comes through, it comes through, but I'm not going to specifically orient an entire reading to give you fluff, essentially. Because what are you really doing with that information? How is that helping you to grow? How is that helping you to introspect? That's just my opinion on it. Like, I'm here to channel things that may be a little blunt to hear. Maybe... yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, I can be really blunt, and I'm not going to apologize for that. Like, I would encompass this flavor, if you will, to be something in the realm of tough love or firm love, because I feel that there's a lot of sugarcoating going on when it comes to things that we need to hear, like hard truth pills, for instance. If I channel information that triggers you, then good, because it's only pointing to unhealed aspects of you. And if you're perpetuating your own suffering by avoiding looking at those things, this is not the place for you at all. Because I'm not going to give you ego balm. I'm not going to sit here and soothe any sort of self-concept that you have about yourself. I'm not here to tell you who you are or are not, but I'm here to channel the messages that come through. And if it bothers you, that ain't got shit to do with me. I'm doing what I love to do. And if you're mad about it, why are you mad? Introspect. Look at that shit, yo. What else do you have to do? You could be reading a book. Not saying that I know what the fuck you need to be doing, but like, I guarantee you that if you're not looking at the things that trigger you, you're probably in a state of avoidance to them. It's either or. Either you're looking at them and you're open to seeing them as they arise and introspecting into them to figure out what's actually going on, or you're not. And if you're not, then you're probably distracting yourself whenever those things come up. Be it with substances, experiences, literally anything. It could be anything. I don't know. Anyways, so with all that out of the way, this isn't going to be like a pick a pile like the previous one was. These collective readings, I'm just going to shuffle, pull cards, and then just let what wants to come out, come out. And that's going to be that. I don't know which deck I want to use. I do want to put this in there. Beep. This hat's so cool. When I worked at a dispensary, these people would come in and they would bring shirts and hats and stuff from like their companies. If I could find the thing. But the cool thing about this hat, I'm going to take it off. We're going to just put it back on. But the cool thing about this hat is it's got this little like tag in the side, and it's to put the little packets of like edible pixie sticks in or whatever, like to hold it, or joints if that's like if that's something that you want or something that you do. But I like to put feathers in it. That isn't to say that I don't smoke, but like moderately. Bitch, I put it in backwards. Please hold again. What's more with feeling? Okay. There she go. Rocking it. Okay. I think that I'm going to start with this, the Good Tarot. She been good to me. She been good to we. Also, I don't know if I said this already, but the information that comes out is not just limited to y'all. It's also in some way, shape, or form for me. And the reason that I say that is because I don't want anyone to have room in their psyche to cultivate this impression of me where it's like, oh, you just think that you know everything and like you just got it all figured out. It's like, no, honey, I know that I don't have it all figured out. In fact, I know that nobody has it all figured out. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? And so just because I speak with such certainty at times and I can articulate certain things well, I'm not going to say I can articulate everything really well all the time, because distilling concepts into language is really fucking hard, dude. So I just want to be clear about the fact that I'm a lifelong student, and that if you feel that I am viewing myself in like this self-appointed teacher role way, then that's a projection, and I'm going to let you know that right now. Because, bitch, I ain't got time to be playing myself like that. Like, that's the biggest trap in the game, is to think that you got it. Nothing serves as more of a barrier to true learning and integration than the illusion of knowledge. And that's the fucking tea. So we're all on a learning journey here. We're all students. It's like, you know, when you're in school and the teacher passes out a fucking assignment. I also swear a lot. I think I said that in the beginning of this. But you know, when the teacher passes out an assignment and like they don't really help anybody else on it, and like, all right, like leave you to your own devices, and you ask like the smart kids in class to help you because they understand it a little better, but they're not teachers themselves now, are they? No, they're not. So this is the same thing. I just may have life experience in certain areas that other people don't yet, or maybe they're in it but they can't see out of it, or whatever the case may be. But the truth is that I'm a student just like y'all. So without further ado, actually I'm going to do one more shuffle intentionally, because I did have cards fly out, but I want to see if there's anything else that wants to come out with these. Okay. And I am going to do my best to hold them up for the camera. That's something that I forget about a lot. Like, I just be getting into it, and I'm like, okay, this, and this. Oh, shit, hold on. And I got, like, a whole fucking spread of cards. Like, I forgot! Okay. The Two of Water, the Hermit, the Two of Air, Transformation, which is the Death card, and Fool. What do I want? These came out together, so I'm going to keep these together. Also, I keep forgetting if I said these things in the beginning or not. or in other videos. Like, it's just giving that energy of deja vu where it's like, I feel like I've said this before. But I'm going to say it again. Fuck, I forgot it. I drew a blank. Hold on. Is she coming back? Oh, yeah. So, collective readings, not everything is going to resonate for everybody. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Like, use your discernment. That's really what I want to fucking emphasize in this channel. I say fuck a lot. That's not what I want to emphasize, but I do say fuck a lot. I want to emphasize that it's really important for you to use your own discernment and draw your own conclusions, because you're the only one that knows what works for your situation and what feels like it's a match to your situation. I'm just a fucking conduit. Okay. So, Two of Water has these little fish guys. The Two of Air, I was hesitating because I didn't remember which card came out next, but I don't think that it really matters because there's going to be multiple messages anyways that come through. So all of it's going to get read. Then the Hermit, the Fool, so you can see, and Transformation, which is the Death card. And also the Messenger of Earth on the bottom. The Messenger of Earth, or sorry, the bottom of the deck rather than the Messenger of Earth, is, to me, it is like an overall theme. So like the cards that I showed you prior to the bottom of the deck are like merely emphasizing and going into a little bit more detail. But if I were to sum it up in one card as like a theme, it would be the bottom of the deck. So let's start big to small. So with the overall theme being the Messenger of Earth, the Messenger of Earth is the Knight of Pentacles in traditional tarot. Now, it may come through as regular tarot meanings, but primarily I read intuitively. So the Messenger of Earth being the slowest knight or messenger in this deck. It's giving slow and steady wins the race. Like anything that you are wanting to build, including yourself. This goes for healing as well. It goes for literally every aspect of your life. That slow and steady wins the race. Like it has to happen brick by brick. You have to be attentive to what is going into what you would perceive to be your final product. Because if you're careless and you don't really know what you're doing or what you're putting into it, you're not going to be able to determine whether or not you are on track for whatever it is that you are attempting to build or achieve, quote unquote achieve. So with this Two of Water, it's giving feeling pulled in perhaps two directions emotionally. Maybe for some, it's like I said, I'm going to thought hypotheticals, but this is not the basis of the reading. Maybe it's perhaps two like emotional interests, like romantic interests. Maybe it's two projects that you feel passionate about or emotionally connected to. Two of Cups, Two of Water could also speak to different aspects of yourself that want different things as well. So it doesn't always have to be an external happening. With the Two of Air, with that, it's giving indecision as well. It's like emphasizing that indecision is at play. Now with Water and Air, water being, or rather like symbolizing the emotional realm, and air symbolizing the mental realm. It's giving whatever this is, it's pulling you in two directions emotionally and perhaps even mentally. But I feel that mentally, for the mental aspect specifically, and the energy that I'm picking up in this specific scenario, I'm going to go down the list. It's like your mind is preferring one over the other, but when you delve into the emotions, it's like an equal tug of war. But for some reason, your mind is preferring one over the other. And for me, what that's giving, not in my subjective experience, because I haven't gone deeply enough into this to be able to make those connections yet, but what that's giving is typically when the mind is involved, and it's not a straightforward emotional decision, I guess. Like when you know that you want to go in one direction emotionally and then you just go for it, like, yes, that one. It's like you're not rowing against yourself. Like somebody rowing forward, somebody rowing backwards. Like that's not happening. Like you're all on board, like all the aspects of yourself. And a really grounded example of what that would look like is, okay, let's say I want to pursue, let's say I've had a dream of like always pursuing culinary things, and that would be really fulfilling for me, and it would like make me feel like in the zone, like very that. Like it'd be emotionally fulfilling, basically, all encompassing. But then my mind comes in and is like, yeah, that would be cool, but how are we gonna make that work? Like I'm trying to like throw out a bunch of different hypotheticals that the mental body would potentially give to you, but it's going to be specific for each person. So it's essentially like the hows and the where's it going to come from, and the anticipatory kind of needing for it to make sense, and like needing to have like a concrete like path to follow, essentially, to get there or whatever. So it's like essentially you are your own roadblock, or like your own mind is your own roadblock for what it is that you feel that you want to pursue. With the Fool and the Hermit, so the Fool is giving this energy of what I had just touched on, of taking that leap of faith towards something that is emotionally fulfilling to you. But there's a reason why it is called a leap of faith, is because you're not able to see. You're not typically able to know the ins and outs of how it's going to happen. You just have to take those steps as they come, which is also giving main theme, the messenger of earth, slow and steady wins the race. Like you're not going to have all the answers right away. It's more so about the intentions that you have moving step by step. So like if your intention is to pursue something that feels emotionally fulfilling to you, every step of the way, whenever you reach a crossroads of like this way or this way, do I do this or do I do this, pay attention to where it's coming from, where the decision is coming from. Why do I want to move this way as opposed to this way? Like what aspect of me is rooting for that specific outcome, and which aspect of me is rooting for the other outcome? So it's like your heart may be like, yeah, like this is what I really want to do. This is what I feel passionate about. But then the mind comes in and is like, but that's not realistic. Like that's not how that works. And it's like, okay, you've only been here for 24 years, ho. How do you know? How do you know it's realistic? Because other people told you it's realistic? Because it works for them? Are they where you want to be? That's the real question. Are you taking advice from people who are not where you want to be? If they're not living a life that you would want for yourself, if you wouldn't be fulfilled in that, then why would you follow somebody else's steps in order to get that? That just doesn't make any sense. I'm not at all saying to disregard every single like thing, because I think that there are gems in everybody's perspective, but it's this mental conditioning, whether it be like be by your parents or like your family or like your friends or the people that you just like surround yourself with, do not limit what you think is realistic or possible, because that is the way that other people operate around you. Like, their limitations do not have to be your limitations. And if you fall prey to that, not to put you in a victim state or like assume or project onto you that you are a victim, because inherently all encompassing you're not. But you get to choose what information you put stock into, and you put energy into, you put belief into. They're giving me the Wright brothers right now. Like how everybody was like, you can't make a fucking plane. Like, that thing is never gonna fly. Like, it's a bunch of metal. Like, that's like a hunk of shit. Like, why are you wasting your time? And now look at us. We have fucking jets. Same thing. Everybody will sit here and tell you that it's not possible or that it's not realistic until you figure out a way to do it for yourself. And they're like, the woman was too stunned to speak. Or they're like, I knew you could do it. Shut the hell up. You was the one talk about that's not realistic like 3 months ago. So it's like, you have to get clear on why you're doing what you're doing. And where those decisions, I don't want to say where those decisions come from, but like being mindful of why you want to put stock in certain avenues or ways of navigation as opposed to others. And the Hermit is giving introspection. It's giving, nobody can do this for you. They can help you to brainstorm, and they can bounce ideas off of you and provide you different perspectives. I ate, so like I'm gonna be burping. I feel like every time I channel and every time I get on here to like record, I end up having like burps. So bear with me in that respect. So with this Hermit, it's giving introspection. It's giving, nobody can do the work for you. Nobody can tell you what's fulfilling to you because they don't know. It's not their subjective experience. It's not their life. They're not going to have the answers for you. They can provide, like I said, different perspectives from which to look through. But it's like putting on somebody else's, I want to say shoes, but I wanted something a little bit more like uniquely tailored. They're giving me Shaq right now. So, like, this is so silly. So, if Shaq had just been operating the way that he was, his body growing as big as fuck as it is, and he outgrew everybody else's shoes, and instead of getting shoes specially tailored to him and his subjective experience and his body, I'm not saying that this is what would have happened, but as an analogy, it's like, you're trying to put on everybody else's shoes, and it's like, yeah, they might fit in certain areas, or you might like the way that they look, or like whatever the case may be, but the truth is, the only shoes that are going to fit you perfectly are ones that are made specifically for you, and only you get to determine what feels comfortable and what feels like the perfect fit. Like, you can't put a shoe on somebody else and be like, yep, that's the way that everybody's, like, shoes should be. Like, for instance, like, when you put it that way, it sounds fucking weird. But it's like, the point I'm trying to make is, nobody else has the answers for you. They don't. They have perspectives that can cause eureka moments for yourself. But if you're sitting here waiting for somebody else to give you the answer to what your fulfillment is specifically, you're going to be waiting forever, because nobody else has that answer. And if they say that they do, there's probably a good chance that they benefit from that in some way. And that's multifaceted, so it's not something I can break down into like a cut and dry black and white thing. But it's like, why do you want to stick your hands in somebody else's bucket so bad? Why do you want to dictate what somebody does and doesn't do so bad? Are you asking yourself these questions? Because I feel like they're really important. And then transformation is the death card. And now death doesn't necessarily mean physical death. Death is transformation, like it says on the card. It's the ending of one form of a thing and the beginning of another. So a seed to a flower could be considered a death, even though it's still alive. It is the ending of the form of seed and the beginning of the form of sprout. And so I feel that for this specific scenario, for this specific thing I'm tapping into, this collective of people, if there's multiple or maybe just one or two, I don't know. You're in the process of trying to determine which direction you're going and why. So the Fool being here alludes to this feeling of like a decision needs to be made. Action and energy needs to be put in to one direction or the other. Are you going to put in energy towards the thing that's scary, but like ultimately you feel like it would be fulfilling if it worked out? Or are you going to talk yourself out of it and be complacent mentally because you can't see the way forward all the way? That's why it's giving the messenger of earth slow and steady, is because you're not going to be able to see it all the way out into completion. Like they say, begin with the end in mind, which is fine, but don't get attached to it being that way in whatever way this applies to you. And I can already feel how this applies for me. It's with this whole tarot channel thing. So I guess that would be a good example. I'm going to use my own experience as an analogy, because otherwise I feel like it can get jumbled in terms of conveyance, if that's a word. If not, I made it up. All words are made up anyways. So this Two of Water is giving, for me, I feel at times pulled in the direction of something more practical, something more assured, something that I feel I could plan around, something that has more structure. But I've tried that and I've been doing that, and it drains me and it doesn't make me feel good. But it does give me that sense of security of like, okay, I can just get up and go to a job and then they're going to pay me money and then I can just have that. And it's like, okay, yeah, but I feel like a fucking zombie. And that's not what I want. So it's this tug of war internally for me, or at least it has been. Me making this video as an example is me making the decision to continue to move in the direction of something that feels good for me. And the alternative would be like, no, I'm just not gonna do that. I'm gonna give up on that. Like, that just seems like too much work. It's like, if I can fucking bust my ass doing something that I absolutely do not want to be doing, why the fuck can't I bust my ass doing things that I love doing? Like, this feels like creative expression for me. That's not to say that this is all like blowing smoke up your ass, because I am like, I don't want to say channeling because that word is thrown around so much, but it's like I'm delivering messages that I feel called to be delivering, and I don't even know what the fuck they're going to be until I start pulling cards. So it's very spontaneous and it's very fluid and it feels like very creative for me, because it's like I get to structure this in whatever way I want. And who's gonna fucking stop me? Nobody, because this is what I want to do. What are you gonna do? Try to tell me, no, you can't do that? Why? Why are you worried about what I'm doing? Like, very that. So it has been this internal tug of war of like, this would be the most practical thing to do, but it's not fulfilling, and this would be fulfilling for me, but I can't see all the way forward, and that's fucking spooky. That's scary. So I've been introspecting and sifting through the different aspects of myself at play here, where it's like, okay, well, why do we feel like we can't do this? What do we feel like the worst case scenario is going to be? Like, all that jazz. And one of the things that I specifically, like in my subjective experience, have been working on is I want to have it quickly. And now that's not to say that I don't understand that things take time, because I'm very aware of that, and I've actually implemented that in my life in multiple ways, like this thing of working out and this thing of like drawing and stuff. Like, slow and steady wins the race, and it's not about winning, but like, it's an analogy. Slow and steady wins the race. Like, consistency over I'm just gonna bust my ass for 24 hours straight, like every day until I'm a master at it. Like, it doesn't work that way. You're gonna fucking burn yourself out. So this is the same thing. Like, the fear-based thoughts that are like, okay, well, I want to have it be clear and known to me now. I want to know what the fuck is going to happen. I just want to know. I want to have that certainty, because like, in the absence of certainty, there's fear. And that's an uncomfortable thing to sit with, is the unknown. So I'm sitting here like, okay, what am I afraid of that's going to happen? Because if I let fear drive the boat, then I may just miss out on an opportunity for myself that would have been fucking fantastic. All because I couldn't see outside of my own fear-based narratives and thinking to be able to see the resources that I did have or what I could do. And in tandem with that fear-based thinking, it's like thinking that I have to have it all done like perfectly right away, like, or have it all done quickly. Like, no, like, it's got to be a balance of I don't want to sum it up like this, but like self-care, like making sure you're drinking water, like taking care of your body, listening to your body first and foremost, and like your emotions and what your emotions are telling you. Like, hey, I don't have the energy for this today. Do you bulldoze that? Do you get up and do that shit anyways, even though you're literally hating it? Why are you torturing yourself like that? Because you think that you have to? Like, you're a creative individual and you have an imagination. I'm sure that there is a way for you to implement, even in like little baby steps, another way of approaching this thing that still gets your needs met, but allows you to do it in a way where you're not fucking bulldozing yourself. And that goes for me as well. But I just feel like it's a little bit easier to see it from a grounded perspective when I provide my own subjective experience in relation to this. So taking your time and getting to know yourself and why you feel like you want to move in this direction, or why you feel like you don't want to move in this direction, and just becoming familiar with yourself. And that's something that I see that we're not doing a lot of. Like, to a certain extent, yes. And that's not to like write off everybody like, I'm the only one that's doing this and nobody else is doing it. Like, it's not that. But there's this natural avoidance that I see of things that are uncomfortable, or things that we can't explain, or things that we don't know. It's like we want the safe option. But let's follow this through really quickly. If you keep playing it safe for the rest of your life and then you die, what is the most common thing that you hear elderly people say, like when they're on their deathbed? Is that, I wish that I would have lived my life more fully. I wish I would have did more of the things that I wanted to do. I wish that I would have spent more time with the people that I love. When you play it safe, you are so focused on playing it safe that you neglect all of these other meaningful aspects of your life and your experience. And you don't realize that until it's too late. And then it's like, fuck. So this isn't, like I said, this isn't me blowing smoke up your ass to like get you all hyped up and go and get your fucking dreams. Like, yes, I want you to like tap into what you feel like you want to be doing and what feels fulfilling to you, because ultimately when you're in that state of I'm doing what I love to be doing, you're going to unconsciously give other people permission and inspiration to do that same thing and find out what that is for them. And so I'm showing up in this way, in my way, doing that, hoping to inspire other people to do the same. But primarily, I just like to do this. And I want you guys to be able to do the things that you want to do. And stop fucking talking yourself out of it like you can't do it. Because you're never going to be able to with that attitude. It's like for every one reason you have to not do it, you can easily think of 10 more to do it. It's just the fear that stops you. Fear is literally the biggest contributor to not doing the things that we feel like we want to do. And it's never going to go away. That's the gag, is that fear is always going to be present. But are you going to let that paralyze you? Because in retrospect, if you were on your deathbed and you're like, damn, I really wish that I would have told that person that I loved them. I never told them how I felt. It's like you were scared until you had that realization that you've now run out of time. So now you're like, fuck the fear. Like, why did I waste this time? Like, vary that. So it's kind of getting into that grounded realization of like, you're alive right now. Like right now. Like you look down in your body and you got hands and feet and shit. Like you're in a body right now. I don't give a fuck what you've been doing in the past all the way up until this now moment. In this now moment, you have an opportunity to think differently, to perceive differently, to choose differently. And I'm not advising you on what those new thoughts and actions should be. But I will say that if fear-based thinking and navigation was going to work, it would have by now. It just would have by now. If it was efficient and it was going to work, it would have by now. So, I feel like I want to pull more cards. So I don't know what this is for you guys. I don't know if this is like... I opened up a funny zip. Like, a funny zip for me also, I'm going to say a lot of words on here that, like, I know what they mean, but I'm going to do my best to explain as I go what they mean. So funny zips are like, you know those folders in computers where, like, you click on them and it's got, like, 1,000 fucking images in it? It's giving that. So it's one single unit, like one folder. It's like, okay, I don't know what that would be for you guys. And me saying that, and then immediately... it opened up in my psyche, and it was like 1,000 different perspectives, of like a fucking infinite amount of situations that it could have been applicable in. And I'm like, I cannot touch on all those all at once. Like, that is overwhelming. That is a lot. So it's a funny zip. It's multifaceted. Apply this to your situation how it fucking fits, because I don't want to say that I'm struggling, because that's not the word that I want to use. It doesn't feel like a struggle. It's just I want to do my best to convey the messages that are coming through in a way where you can easily see it in your experience, if it is applicable. And I do that by way of analogy, but sometimes I don't have like the perfect analogy or all of the analogies to encompass all the people that, whenever it is. We got the Strength and the High Priestess. This is the Black Tarot. This is one of my favorite tarot decks in the entire world. And that's the High Priestess. So what this is giving is, I believe that everybody has intuitive nudgings or gut feelings that prompt them in the direction of what is for them. Like, this situation doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do that. That's like an intuitive inkling of like, my spidey senses are tingling, it's just not it. Or yes, this is a thing, but also I'm scared to go in that direction, but also I feel like I want to. That's also an intuitive nudge with the additional like fear-based, like, oh, what if, attached to it. So with the strength and the high priestess, it requires strength to follow your intuitive promptings, specifically because fear is so much of a paralytic. It takes strength. I'm trying to like figure out how to distill this word strength down in like a more concise way. But it takes strength to question your own thought patterns and to question the things that you thought that you knew. Like, how do I know that I know this thing? Do I think that I know this thing because somebody else seems very certain, or this group of people seems very certain? How do I know? What have my direct experiences been with this thing, or with these things, or with whatever the fuck it is? What is your direct experience telling you? Because it's like, it's giving... If somebody tells you, oh, you should be offended by that, like, that's like really disrespectful, and then you get angry because somebody else told you that you should be angry, that's not your direct experience. That's somebody else putting pressure on you and saying like, oh, well, you should feel this way. And you're like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I should feel that way. No. How do you feel? How do you genuinely feel about that? Authentically. And that takes strength to sit in that because of the amount of pressure that we have from literally all sides to conform to either one side or the other, or this group or that group, or like even just this thing of certainty. Like, from my specific experience, I've had people ask me all the time, like, how do you know? How do you know? And it always works out for me. Like, it literally always works out. But how do you know? I don't know how I know. I just know that I know. I don't know what I know until I know it. I know that sounds really fucking cryptic, but it's true. It's like I just have an inkling and I'm gonna follow it. And then every time I follow that fucking inkling, it works out. Every time I don't, it falls to shit. Every single fucking time. I'm not saying that the same is gonna happen for you. I'm not advising that you try to go against that inkling, but free will. You're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want, not just because I said so. I'm just letting you know that that's what it is. So it takes strength to follow those intuitive nudgings, because there's also going to be thoughts and people and ideas and concepts and any other thing that you can think of pulling you in another direction away from that. Like, don't believe that, believe this. That doesn't make sense, this makes sense. Why do you need things to make sense? If there is an inkling within you that is nudging you towards something that you know would be fulfilling to you, that you want to do, like, oh, I want to be a dancer. Okay, well then dance. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know how I would start doing that. It's like, stop. You're thinking too much about it already. You're thinking about how it's going to happen. You just need to do it. Just like I got on here and I fucking started recording. I didn't know how I was going to do this. I saw other tarot readers and stuff, but I'm like, this isn't necessarily resonating with me in the sense that I don't want my channel to function like this. Like, I don't feel like I function like this. And I don't feel that my intuition functions like that. It's very, like, spontaneous, very in and out, very this. I just spit a little bit. I don't know if you saw that. I forgot what I was saying. It'd be like that sometimes. Oh, yeah, you're just not going to know. You're just not going to know all the time. And it's like you have to trust in that inkling that says go in this direction. But it's essential that you sit with yourself and introspect to know what is what. Because it could be fear disguised as practicality. It could be, as Jim Carrey said. I'm also going to do my best to give credit to the quotes that I have in my brain. because I taken a lot of content from other people that I resonate with, and when they say things that sum up like large chunks of information that I prior didn't have any way to describe, I like to like grab that and be like, yep, I'm going to repurpose that to describe this thing, because otherwise I'm not really sure how to describe it concisely. But I don't always remember where they come from. So like I said, I'm going to do my best. But that one was from Jim Carrey, where he said it's fear disguised as practicality. Like, your brain's going to tell you to go this way because it's practical, because it's what makes sense. But if you have a dream, if you have something that you feel very passionate about, move in that direction, despite this. Because if you truly do believe that it's going to work out, then it will. It will. And it may not be right away, it may not be tomorrow, because all good things take time. Anything worth having takes time to build. And everything in life requires patience. So it's like, if you're trying to get somewhere by taking shortcuts because that's where you want to be, you're not going to have a good time, because the mentality that you're going into it with is, I'm not trying to sit here and build it, I'm trying to get what I want. I'm just trying to have the outcome. I don't want to do the work required to build it. I don't want to do the work required to make it happen. I just want to have it. That's a shortcut mentality. Anything worth having, anything that will stand the test of time, takes time to build. So be real with yourself about where you're expecting things to just fall into your lap. That's also giving this transformation. The you that is starting this journey in whatever way it looks like, the you that is starting this pursuit of something that feels more in alignment with like emotional fulfillment than just like, oh, it's what I have to do. You're not going to be the same person at the end of it as you are in the beginning. You are developing your character as you go through the experiences, as you are building this brick by brick. You are changing, you are growing with it. You cannot stay the same. It doesn't work that way. So like, that's something that I really would like to hammer in as well, is that just how you're not the same person that you were when you were a teenager, you're not going to be the same person you were at the start of whatever it is that you're beginning, of whatever it is that you're pursuing. But the King of Wands on the bottom speaks to taking accountability and control of your own life. Because like I said, nobody is going to be able to tell you what is emotionally fulfilling for you. Nobody's going to be able to tell you what lights you up. And you have to be willing to, if you believe in it that strongly, you have to stand up and say, all right, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I feel so strongly about this thing that I'm going to make it happen. Like those people that are like, I'm going to be a rapper one day, and they're just on the subways and they're just doing it all the time, or they're just like putting so much energy into it and attention, and like it's dedication, and then they end up making it, and it's like their story goes something like, yeah, you know, I grew up in this rough neighborhood, or like, I grew up and I didn't have these things, but I worked at it and I refined my craft and I kept at it and I was dedicated, and now look where I am. That's how it works. And if you're looking for like fame or recognition or like clout, why do you want that? Ask yourself why you want that. And you can, like, to use myself as an example, you could look at me and be like, oh, they're just up there because they want to hear themselves talk, and they want to, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They want to like have that validation. Like, they want to like, doing it for those kinds of reasons. Like, I'm not on here for fucking publicity. I'm not on here to make money, like, as though that's my sole reason for doing this. I'm doing this because I feel called to do it, and I love doing this. I love it. And it's scary, but I love it. So it's like, if you're doing something specifically for people to see you in a certain way or to not see you in a certain way, you're shortchanging yourself heavy. Like, Alan Watts has this, has like a lot of lectures, but in this one specific one, he's talking about how, if you say that you love singing and you want to be a singer, but you really want to just be in the spotlight and have people like fawn over you or just be the center of attention, then you don't love singing. You love the attention you get from singing. There's a difference. And you have to be very honest with yourself about why you're doing what you're doing, because that's where your compass comes from. If you know why you're doing what you're doing, that assists you in making sure that you're going in the right direction. But if you're convincing yourself and you're in denial about, like, oh no, I'm not doing this for that, and you really are, but you're unwilling to face that, you're going to have a bad time, because you've got you've got aspects of yourself that are rowing in the opposite direction of, like, the other aspects. And so you're not going anywhere. You're playing yourself. So it's like authenticity. And that's also the King of Wands energy. I've shuffled it now, so like I can't pull it out and hold it up. But standing in your truth, standing in your power as an authority over your own life. Only you can decide what is good for you and what feels good for you. But you have to get clear on why you want what you want. Do you want it for a very surface level reason? What is the need underlying that? Like, introspection is the key word here. Introspection and authenticity. We got a lot of keywords going on. What else wants to come out? We got the Ace of Swords and the Magician. Get clear on what you want to manifest. And I know manifest is a word that keeps being thrown around in like the spiritual community and just in general, whatever. But manifest is basically, I thought it, now I want to see it grounded in front of my face. I had this really great idea for a movie. Now I'm getting the resources in place and getting the people in place to actually make it happen. That's manifestation. And so it's basically just reiterating what I just touched on, is getting very clear on why you're doing what you're doing, being honest with yourself, why you're doing what you're doing, what you want to create, what you want. What do you want? And nobody's going to be able to tell you what you want. Like, there's a lot of reiteration happening here, but I feel like it needs to be said. Because we so often look outside of ourselves to other people to say, hey, am I doing this right? Am I doing this life thing right specifically? And it's like, nobody fucking knows. Nobody knows. Because we're all trying to figure it out for ourselves. And like, that's the beauty of life, in my opinion, is that it's a journey of like discovery. Like, you're unfolding layers of yourself. Like, you're not the same person you were when you were a teenager. So, like, that's one layer, and then you grew, and you didn't realize that you were in a layer. You're like, it's not a phase, Mom! Like, very that. It's like, but it was a phase. It was a very valid aspect of you that was expressing itself at that time. But you're not going to stay that way for the rest of your life. So get clear on why you want what you want, and where you want to go moving forward. Because you're not going to stay the same. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have a conscious hand in the thoughts and beliefs that I'm adopting, as opposed to the blind leading the blind. Like, yup, I'm just gonna trust you. I don't know what the fuck anything is, so, like, I'm gonna just hope that it all works out. Like, no. No. Mm-mm. Absolutely the fuck not. And what I mean by that is that's just absurd. That's ridiculous. That's what we've been doing for fucking thousands of years, is saying, help me! Show me! And that's how you get manipulated, ho. That's why discernment's so important. Page of Spheres on the bottom, which is Page of Pentacles, which speaks to me about a student mindset of learning, of exposing yourself to new things, like in a not a practical kind of way, but like in a physical way. Like if you want to learn a language, seek out that content physically. Don't just expect for it to fall into your lap or anything like that. Like, you have to seek it out. King of Spheres and the Six of Wands. The King of Pentacles and the Six of Wands. King of Pentacles looks like these. And the Six of Wands. Grounded application. So for every woo-woo idea out there or concept about, like, what it is that I want, like, oh, I'm gonna be a famous artist one day or something of the like, and people are like, that's unrealistic to you. But labeling it as unrealistic right off the bat provides this sort of connotation with this thing of dreams and aspirations that makes them seem far out, that makes them seem like you're never going to attain it, like there's no little practical steps to build it up to be that, when that's absolutely false. There is. For every big thing, there are a bunch of tiny little things that make up that big thing. So, like, for every established person in their business, like, they didn't just start out that way. It grew into that. And this is also alluding back to the fucking messenger of earth, is everything takes time. And we don't like that. Especially because our society's founded on fucking convenience. So it's like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go get a burger from McDonald's that takes 2 minutes, less than. But it's fucking shit for you. It's bad for you. That's why you're not feeling great. Do you think that shit's healthy for you? No, it tastes good. It's addictive. That's why you keep wanting to eat it. Is not because it's good for you, but because it's addictive. It gives you dopamine. So it's like, don't buy into this idea that dreams are like a far off thing. Maybe the outcome that you wish for it to be is far off, but that's only because it takes time to build to that point, not because it's unrealistic. If you put in the effort and you continue to try and you continue to work at it, you will get to that point of victory in whatever way that looks like for you. It's consistency. Nobody ever got anywhere by giving up. But nobody ever talks, I'm not going to say nobody, but like, there's a certain degree of like, people not wanting to acknowledge how hard it actually is. Until they've made it, until they've realized that and matured in such a way that they recognize like their own immaturity when they first started out. But like, you have to fall down and skin your knees and get some bumps and bruises in order to learn. That's how you learn, is you experience. So just how I'm doing this is not going to be the final product of my tarot channel, I promise you. I just don't know what the end result's going to look like. I'm winging it because I enjoy doing it, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to consistently do this. And then see what happens. But if I just sat on my ass and was like, wow, I wish that I had that. I wish that I could do that. Like, do you see how paralyzing that is? Like, you have to be willing to take those steps. You have to be willing to powerfully own what it is that you want when you figure out what it is that you want, and be real with yourself about the steps that it's going to take. Like, okay, it's not going to happen overnight. I have to be real with myself about that. And every day that it's still like slowly moving, slowly building, I'm faced with, specifically my subjective experience, I'm faced with fears of like, oh, it's not happening. Like, what if it's never going to happen? What if, like, it doesn't work out? It's like, that's an opportunity for me to further integrate the aspect of myself that relies on certainty, that relies on, I need somebody to tell me that what I'm doing is actually going to work out. But I know in my heart of hearts that I'm doing what I need to be doing and that it's going to work out. So it's that tug of war every day that I experience, every day that I wake up and I'm just in a human body. Like, I'm just fucking doing human shit, yo. It's like being aware of what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, where it comes from, and not denying it and not pushing it away. Like, no, it's just trying to tell me something about my experience. And it's helping me to grow and learn and evolve. So it's like everything that I experience serves me in some way. I know that. And it doesn't make it comfortable all the time, but I recognize that that's ultimately what it's doing. Okay. This thing of contrast. You know what you want because you know what you don't want. You can look at, like, negative experiences and be like, oh, but that shitty thing happened. Yeah, it happened. Now it's up to you to sift through what your part to play in it was, the other people's part to play in it, accountability on your side, and also compassion for the other side, because if they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't be doing it in the way that they're doing it, like in terms of like causing harm to other people. Like, hurt people, and I know that that's one of them phrases that goes around, but it's true. Like, healthy people don't traumatize other people. They don't perpetuate their own suffering. Like, healthy people don't go out and kill other people. Healthy people don't go out and fucking start wars. Like, that's something we need to also recognize, is that we are all, to some degree, very wounded. And you may not identify with that, and I'm not asking you to identify with, like, your wounds, but I'm definitely asking you to look at the fact that we are all children in grown people bodies. Some of us are still children, but we're all children in grown people bodies that just want to love and be loved. And every one of us has a different human experience that has shaped us in some way, shape, or form. I said shape twice. And it's like having compassion for other people, because we may not understand why they're able to do the things that they're doing, but they didn't get that way by accident. That shit just doesn't happen. You didn't pop out the womb like that. Like, that is trauma. That is pain. That is suffering. Alright, I got the world on the bottom. Temperance. The Eight of Spheres, which is the Eight of Pentacles. And the Ace of Spheres, which is the Ace of Pentacles. So in order to create any sort of new beginning for yourself, in whatever way that may look like, any sort of change, whether it be, I want to start working out, I want to get in shape, that takes work, that takes practical steps, that takes consistency. And yet, as I said before, it is not an overnight process. So every day you wake up, let's use fitness as an example. Every day you wake up and you're like, wow, I just want to be fit already. The only way you're going to get there is by putting in the work. Point blank, period. That's it. There is no trickety trick. There is no, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't, because there's like liposuction and shit, but that's another version of convenience. Like, you just want it right now, and you have the money and the luxury and the privilege to be able to do that. But that's not the only way. It's just the fastest way, and we want things to happen like that. So we have to change our relationship to how we think these things occur. Just like plants. My nose is itching like a lot. That's why I keep rubbing my nose. Plants don't just like, oh, they're seeds one day and then they're like 12 feet tall. It doesn't work that way. We don't work that way either. Nothing works that way. Like, you really have to understand that. Because if you don't understand that, you're not going to be able to have the proper mindset to go the distance with whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And that goes for projects, that goes for career, that goes for relationships with other people, like especially with other people. We can be like, you need to change this thing. This is a whole funny zip, but like just as an example. Like, you need to change this thing, and then they say, okay, I'm going to work on it. And then they do the same thing that you told them that they needed to change it, told them not to do tomorrow. And it's like, you blow up because you're impatient with the fact that growth and change takes time. If that doesn't work for you, you need to reevaluate why you're staying in that connection and why you're pursuing those things. And that goes back to this Hermit card of introspection. Like, it's about you. If you are in a connection, in a friendship, in a relationship, in a family dynamic, whatever the case may be, and it is unhealthy for you, and it doesn't feel good to you, but you feel guilty for leaving, or like you can't leave, and typically guilt is associated with those kinds of situations where it's like, no, but I can't, but also it's like fear because you're getting needs met through those people. And it's like becoming aware of what you're getting out of the situation, what you're not getting out of the situation. And it's like, think about it like currency, like money. Is it worth it to you? Take a really hard look at the quality of the experience and experiences that you are creating, co-creating for yourself and with other people. And you're not obligated to give your time, energy, or attention to anybody. I'm going to say that again. You are not obligated to give your time, attention, or energy to anybody. The only exception that I would say is, like, to this, what I just said, is if you have a baby, it's not going to survive without other people. Like, if you don't, like, I know this is like a really touchy subject, but it's like, being mindful of what it actually takes to be a healthy parent. Because I see people having kids just because they want to have kids, but it's like, do you realize that those kids are going to grow up to be human beings just like you? And it's like, if you don't even understand your own trauma and your own wounding, you're going to project that onto your kids. You're going to. Because you're just not seeing it as that. You're not doing the work to tame the compulsion to pass on that trauma. Like, if your parents yelled at you and told you that you were a piece of shit, whenever you get angry at your child, you're probably going to have to fight the compulsion to be reactive in that way. Not saying that it's going to come across in the same exact way, but we have to be mindful of how we are showing up and the energy that we are putting into these people, places, things, projects, and determine whether or not they are actually where we want to be putting our energy. If it's currency, if my focused attention is currency, and I'm like, wow, this is like a not healthy relationship for me to be in, I can spend all of my energy, all of my money wishing that it was different, that it was a better quality, or just wishing that it was different in general. Or I can get very real with myself and say, okay, this is what's working, this is what isn't. If they are willing to work on those things, that's fine. But does that work for me now? Like, do I need to, like, separate from this connection? Is that what needs to happen? Or am I willing to work on it? Like, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of being very honest with yourself. And also exposing yourself to different perspectives. Like, it's fine to, like, ask for advice and stuff, but you have to take it with a grain of salt and compare it with how you feel about it. And, like, this is another one of those funny zip things where it's not going to be the same for everybody, and everybody's in a different dynamic, but it all comes back to how it sits with you. But if you want anything to be balanced, instead of, like, bulldozing yourself, or, like, I can't do anything, like, I'm just, like, stuck in this paralysis state. Like, it starts with your body. It starts with your physical being. Like, what's a good analogy for this? Let's say I want to travel, right? I have, like, these big dreams to, like, travel and do things, but my car's fucked. I have to put the work into my car so that way it can do the things that I want it to do. So I can say that I want to start this channel, but let's say I'm not drinking water, like, every day, and I'm dehydrated as fuck, and now I'm lethargic. Now I don't have energy to put into the thing that I know that I want to do. So in order for anything to work, you first have to take care of yourself. That is a must. You have to. I'm not saying you have to as though I'm telling you what to do, but, like, there's no way around it. What else wants to come out? I feel like there's something else. The Queen of Wands and the Hierophant. So what this is giving is, I don't want to word it like this, but, like, the confidence to seek out the knowledge that you don't yet have. So recognizing that you are a student and recognizing that you are always going to be learning. If you are at a standstill in your life and you're not really sure what to do, try to, like, send out your feelers for, like, information that, like, you haven't been exposed to yet. And I know that sounds, like, weird to say, like, oh, just, like, figure out what you don't know. Gee, thanks, I'll get right on that. But it's like, you have to take that initiative and to have that confidence and the faith in yourself to navigate new situations, to absorb that new knowledge, to expose yourself to something new, and to go, oh, okay, all right, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I didn't know that. And now that I do know that, how can I apply it to my experience? How can I creatively, like, not mix things up, but, like, how can I throw this in the mix? Because what I have at my disposal right now, it's stale. If it would have worked, if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. So, like, obviously I need some fresh perspective. Obviously I need to seek out information. And that's another thing, like, discernment, like, coming back to discernment. You have to be discerning about the information that you are delving into. And this is also a process, developing this thing of discernment. most commonly, I see that discernment is best developed by getting bumps, bruises, and scraping your knees, going through life experiences and saying, wow, I did not know that that's what that was. So, like, for example, people who are in codependent and narcissistic relationships, typically they don't even know that that's what they're in. Like, they either think that it's normal because that's all they've ever experienced, or they're writing off the red flags and the things that don't feel good, etc., etc. So it's like, if something isn't feeling good about your experience or like right, and it's like, okay, like I feel like I don't have enough pieces to know why this isn't working, you have to go out and find it. But like I said, with this thing of discernment, coming back, you don't know what you don't know until you go through an experience that exposes you to what you don't know. So if you've never heard of like narcissism or like codependency or like what those dynamics look like, then you may find yourself in that dynamic, and then it would probably be a very painful experience for you, because there's a lot of things that just are not adding up, and a lot of like painful aspects of it. And it takes you saying, okay, like something isn't right here, using the resources at your disposal to educate yourself about what isn't right. And I know it's not just as easy as, wow, I guess I'll just do that. But this is what it takes, is like, we don't know everything. We don't. And we have to be real with ourselves about the fact that we don't know everything. And so going out and seeking out information may seem tedious and like you don't want to do it. But this is the harsh truth, is that you're going to be doing that your entire life. It's just a matter of whose information you're going to take. Are you going to take the convenient information where it's all packaged up and it's like, here, I have the answer for you? Or are you going to go, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me, or like, for whatever reason, table that and try to discover your own way to navigate it, like derive your own conclusions, if you will, or perspectives rather than conclusions from your experiences. And like I said, that isn't to say that like you can't take into consideration other people's perspectives, but don't take them as gospel. Like, pair it with your own experience. Like, I cannot stress that enough. We are so I'm just checking the time, that's all. It like sections it up into like different segments. Yeah, but I can't stress that enough, because we opt for convenience because we don't want to think. We don't want to go through the painstaking process of learning by experience. We just want somebody to hand the answer to us. It doesn't fucking work that way. Like, it doesn't. And if it does, that's like little pieces of the puzzle. You're never gonna get like a whole grand completed puzzle, like finished product type deal going on. You're not gonna get that concisely. That's like, I'm trying to figure out a way to like condense this down, but Alan Watts is talking about how like these Zen Buddhist like masters or whatever, like these gurus, it's like they are really just trying to get you to see how futile it is to make yourself different than you are, to stop your compulsions, to stop your desires. Like, it's not going to happen. So they play games with you and give you impossible tasks, so that way you go on this adventure and you keep trying and trying and trying and trying, only to realize that like it can't be done. Like he says, like Alan Watts says, like trying to pull yourself up from your own bootstraps. It's like, you cannot do that. It doesn't work that way, because the one that needs to be improved... Oh, no, I said that backwards. So the one that is going to be doing the improving on you is the one that needs to be improved. So right there, it's like your perspective is distorted. It's flawed, Because if you need to be improved, but you're simultaneously saying, well, I know what to do, that's coming from a state of being where you feel that you need to be improved. So it's like, this whole process, he says it's pickpocketing your own watch and selling it back to you. It's giving that. So anybody who has like this tailored, like, this is the key to life, like very that, and it's like very palatable and it tastes good, that's not it. That's not it. They're selling you convenience because that's what you want. You don't want the harsh truth. You don't want the hard things. You want it to be easy. But that's not what this is. Life is not easy. It doesn't mean it has to be terrible, but it's like we want everything served to us like silver platter, because that's how we've been conditioned. And then the people who have had it tough, like I've experienced my fair share of hardship. It can be easy to have this bitterness, this jadedness of like, oh, well, you just don't know what a struggle is because you don't know what I've been through. It's like, no, your struggle just looks different than mine, but it's hard for all of us, and that's the truth. It's not a competition of like who's been through the worst stuff. We're all in the same fucking boat, yo. We're literally all in the same fucking boat. You know what pain feels like, and so do I. So why the fuck aren't we working together to figure out how to co-create an existence, a world where it's a little less painful for one another? Because we can do that. We have the resources. Prime example, world hunger. Why the fuck are there people starving when there's people sitting on billions of dollars? Why? They say, oh, we don't have the resources. Where's the money going to come from? You're printing it. It's abstract. Shut the fuck up. Making excuses while these people are fucking starving. You should feel ashamed of yourself. I don't want to say that anybody should feel ashamed of themselves, but like, you ought to look at the influence that you have. Look at the impact that you are having, realistically. If you have the power to change something and you don't, I'm trying to find the words to describe how this hits me. If you have the power and the resources to change something for the better, and you don't because you are selfish and greedy in terms of money, you don't deserve to have that wealth and that influence because you're not using it responsibly. And I don't want to use the word deserving because that's not exactly like the perfect word for this, but it's like recognizing whether or not the people that have power and influence actually fuck, I'm trying to find a word. It's like, are you doing the most responsible thing with that position, or are you taking advantage of it? There we go. We getting them words today. And it's like, if you're in a leadership position, it's true what they say, like with great power comes great responsibility. And if you have great power, but you're not being responsible with it, you get shit like this, where people are starving, but we have money, we have resources, most importantly, to fix it. And they're not doing anything, and they're making excuses. The Three of Cups, the Knight of Wands, the Sun and the Moon. Three of Cups looks like this. This is like the longest reading I think I've ever done. We're like hitting an hour and 24 minutes right now. The Knight of Wands. The Sun. And the Moon. And I think that this is going to be the last like shuffle that I'm going to do. I do want to clarify this. Okay, so this is more so speaking, so this is going to be sectioned up. The Three of Cups, to me, speaks about people, of groups of people. The Knight of Wands, I needed a clarification on that. And I got the Devil and the Emperor. And what that is giving is, it's like this arrogance, this desire to be in power, in a position of authority over people, or like seen as an authority figure, but you don't actually you don't have the best intentions, because the reason why you're doing it is because you want to be seen that way, not because you actually have other people's genuine best interests at heart. You're not willing to take their best interests to heart because you're concerned about how you're affected, and only how you're affected, and maybe the people close to you, but primarily it's about how you want to be seen, perceived, experienced, about how people treat you. Like you want that validation, or whatever it is specifically in that case, because that's kind of like a funny zip as well. But it's like this attachment to power. And I'm going to distill that down a little bit. Like, if you can never take direction, and that isn't to say that, like, you have to be subservient, but if you only want to be in this position where you are the one giving the information and never the one going out and learning and actually like humbling yourself and like collaborating with other people and working together, if you're always trying to be at this tippy top of like, I've got it, and like, let me tell you how it is, I'm gonna just say you need to look at that, because that's not the kind of mentality that is beneficial in positions of power, in positions of like influence. Because if you're influencing other people, if you're going to be influencing the public in any way, shape, or form, you ought to have their best interests at heart and not sell them a lie just because you want to have the money, you want to have the recognition, you want to have the whatever the fuck that puts you in a position of authority. That's disrespectful to yourself and to other people. With the Sun and the Moon, it's giving exposing this. Like exposing this apathy. Like specifically for people in positions of power and positions of leadership. Like the public will say, hey, this isn't right, like this needs to change, and they're like, we're doing the best we can. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're trying to maintain your position because that's where you want to be. You're not actually for the betterment and the growth of the whole, of the collective. You just want what you want, and you're trying to covertly stay there and then manipulate your way through it. I'm sick of this fucking manipulation shit. Now, manipulation isn't always a dirty word, because, like, manipulation is, like, the ability to influence, I feel like. And that's not, like, a definition that's, like, verbatim off of Google or something. That's just, like, what I feel like it is. Like, the ability to impact or sway something. And while we're talking about this thing of power, we are all as powerful as we need to be in order to create the life that we desire without hurting ourselves or anyone else. That's where creativity and imagination comes in, is that it's not black and white. There's always a third option. You just have to be willing to sit with that tug of war for it to arise, I guess. To come out, to be seen. Because if you're not looking for it, you're not going to be able to see it. And if you're so busy trying to pick one over the other, this over that, you're not looking for the third option, because you're wanting to side with this side or this side. I feel like I touched on a lot of different things in here, and like I would really like to go more in depth on some of these things, but just not in this video. I'm gonna pull some of these, and I think I'm gonna end this. Did you flip over? Sometimes they be flipping in here and doing like complete rotations, and I'm like, I swear you flipped upright, but then it's like, nope. One more time. Okay. All right, so I've got, don't run from the darkness, embrace your shadow side. What aspect of yourself have you been afraid to look at or address? This is all like going back to like this thing of authenticity and being really honest with yourself, and it's not always going to be comfortable. I'm going to be completely real with you. A lot of it is going to be extremely uncomfortable, but it is necessary in order for you to expand enough in terms of like what you're able to perceive about yourself and other people around you and everything in general. It's necessary to look at those aspects of self. It's like nobody wants to be a bad person, for example, but like you have to look at the aspects of you that make you feel like a bad person. Not to sit there and point the finger at them, but to understand them and to see just how much of that is conditioning. Like, am I a bad person? What is a bad person? Like, is that just something that somebody told me that was bad because that was their perspective? Like, what is the actual impact of this behavior or this belief system? Like, using your own judgment, your own discernment. And then your true tribe can't show up until you do. How can you show more of the real you? This is speaking to authenticity again. Like, what aspects of you are you hiding from yourself and from other people? Because those aspects of yourself that you are repressing are going to come out. They have to find a way out. Like, no matter how hard you reject, disown, and deny them, they will make an appearance. Do you want them to make an appearance in a way where it's like, hey, I'm here again. You remember we had that talk a week ago about how I was feeling this way? Do you want it to be like that, or do you want it to be like the boogeyman or the monster under your bed fucking like coming out at people? Like, what do you want? Because if you don't acknowledge it in your spare time, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and louder. And the bigger and louder that it becomes, the more uncomfortable it is to navigate. So it's like, look at the uncomfortable things now, because they're not going to get any more comfortable. They're not going to get any less uncomfortable. Is there anything else? Okay. One more. But it's going to be this Buddha Oracle deck that I got. I don't think it's actually called that, but like it's got like Buddhas and bikinis and things. So I got this the chakras card. It says call upon the guardians of our psychic energy. That's these are less of like, oh hey, like guidance, I'm telling you what to do. I'm gonna interpret these as well. And then the Padma Dakini, which is the Red Buddha family of the West, replace greed by cultivating discrimination. So what this is giving is, look at the aspects of yourself that how do I word this? Like, if you're pointing the finger at somebody else and saying, like, you're a piece of shit for doing this thing or being this way, look for that aspect within yourself. How do you behave like that? How does that show up for you? And the reason that I say that is because you can't just point the finger outside of you and say you're doing, or you're not doing, or like you need to be different. But then, what about you? What are you doing in your spare time? Are you introspecting? Are you looking into why you do the things that you do? How is it fair that you get to point the finger at somebody else and tell them that they need to be doing something different while you're not doing something different? Huh? Huh? I know you can't answer me because this is a recorded video, but come on now. Holding other people to expectations that you yourself don't even uphold. Crazy. Anyways, I feel like that's all I have for this video. So I'm going to catch y'all at another now moment. I don't know what the next one's going to be. I really like doing the pick cards because it's like, I like variety. So it might be one of those. I don't know if it's going to have a topic. Probably not. But yeah, I'll catch it another now. I love you guys.